Hey everybody, this is PartyElite, and Creative Assembly have asked me to make this video in which we do a total breakdown of the CA Civil War battle between High Elves and Lizardmen from last week. Far away from the Fallen Gates, up in Nagaroth, these two forces engage with Mitch leading the Lizardmen and Oscar leading the High Elves. Mazdamundi leads the Lizardmen atop Zlok with 3 units of Saurus Warriors with shields, 2 units of Temple Guard, a unit of Skink Skirmishers, a Bastillodon with Revivification Crystal, a Feral Stegodon, a Feral Carnosaur, and a Bastillodon with Solar Engine. Tyrion leads the High Elves alongside 2 Nobles, a unit of Spearmen, 3 units of White Lions of Shrace, 2 units of Phoenix Guard, a unit of Archers, a unit of Silver Helms with shields, a unit of Illyrian Reaver Archers, and an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. Alright, right away you'll notice the High Elves are using terrain on their side of the field to their advantage, hiding most of their forces within these trees to keep their composition hidden, while the Lizardmen are forced atop this hill, completely exposed, able to take a lot of damage from artillery from the get-go, but they are able to respond with shots as well. You will notice, however, the Illyrian Reaver Archers have been Vanguard deployed over here, pushing forward nice and early just to get a little bit of early damage in, and maybe some information if anything is hidden. So you'll see as they do that, they open some shots off, get some hurt into these Saurus Warriors with shields, but the Solar Engine there does respond, scuffs the hill there, doesn't do anything really, but the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower right now is firing away as these guys are reforming, turning around, bringing the halberds of the Temple Guards there in case the Illyrian Reaver Archers push forward, and the Skink Skirmishers are pushing forward as well. Now, important to note, the Skink Skirmishers of course have a relatively small radius of fire, while the Illyrian Reaver Archers have a much larger radius of fire, but more important than that, the Illyrian Reaver Archers have decent melee stats. You can see them right there. So if the Skink Skirmishers get too adventurous in an attempt to shut these guys down, the Illyrian Reaver Archers are able to turn around and respond in melee and completely take care of the Skink Skirmishers without any issue. Meanwhile, as that's happening, you'll notice the Bastillodon with Solar Engine is pushing forward to try and trade some shots with the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower that responds and misses not once, not twice, but 3 times. These guys could not hit the side of a building, unfortunately, but the Solar Engine is about to show them how it's done, I suppose, pushing into range and trying to get some damage in while the rest of the Lizardman army is pushing forward as well. So that first Solar Engine shot does go through and hits just one individual. Very unfortunate, at the wrong place at the wrong time. That guy takes that shot and falls, but maybe not the best idea to target something like the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, small artillery units with very few individuals manning them each. So not the best of calls there, targeting that unit. Meanwhile, you'll notice over here to the right flank, the Silver Helms are pushing forward, hoping to find an opening for a flanking maneuver, but of course they will have to be careful with the Temple Guard here with their halberds, as well as the Feral Carnosaur being a T-Rex, both of them anti-large, able to take care of the Silver Helms with and without their shields with relative ease. Meanwhile, another shot from the Bastillodon Solar Engine. You'll see once again it just hits one individual. I hope those two kiss their kids goodbye before this battle because they're not going home for dinner tonight. And meanwhile, you'll see the Illyrian Reaver Archers here again just poking and prodding, maybe hoping to distract the Lizardmen so they're not paying attention to these Silver Helms that are coming in from that right flank. Meanwhile, the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower finally able to get some damage in, while the Solar Engine there misses a shot on the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, hitting the White Lions of Shrace instead and actually causing a decent bit of damage, killing 5 of those individuals, so definitely a better call to focus on clumped up units like happened right there. Meanwhile, the Feral Carnosaur is now the focus of the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, while another shot from the Solar Engine goes in, killing a few more White Lions of Shrace, dropping them to 64 individuals from 75. Meanwhile, you'll notice over here the Silver Helms getting ever more adventurous, trying to be heroes here, pushing in, not sure which way they can approach because again the Temple Guards are halberdiers and the Feral Carnosaur is anti-large as well. Another shot from the Bastillodon with Solar Engine, again not the best call to focus in on the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, and soon they will change their target to that unit of Phoenix Guard instead. So great call there, trying to take care of that anti-large support because of course the Lizardmen are coming in with a few large units. So there goes the shot, and you'll see that one does miss unfortunately, but it manages to get a little bit of damage done to the nobles that are tucked away behind that unit, but still, good call to target the Phoenix Guard, take care of the halberds so that they're not able to hurt, Mazdamundi or the Carnosaur or the Stegodons or the Bastillodons, any of the large units. Meanwhile, once again, the Silver Helms back here on the right flank, trying to get adventurous, looking for that opening, looking for a gap to push in through, but a very dangerous situation as that Feral Carnosaur is pushing forward, though there is a bit of a gap opening, and the Silver Helms decide that that's their opportunity as the Phoenix Guard back there do get struck by that Solar Engine shot, doing a decent bit of damage there, killing 5 Phoenix Guard again. Great call there. Now, back to the Silver Helms over here, you'll see they find this little gap and they want to push through, but unfortunately, that Feral Carnosaur notices, pulls back right away. The Temple Guard over here with their halberds turn around to push in, and Mazdamundi as well getting involved, pushing in as these Silver Helms get hit from both sides, trying to retreat, but look at the morale damage. And meanwhile, you'll see the net of a Mintok coming in from Mazdamundi, holding these guys in place, and watch as they fall apart to to the halberds, to the feral carnosaur, and Mazdamundi doesn't even have to be involved, just turns around and decides to get engaged in the front lines instead. Meanwhile, you'll see the front lines are about to start engaging over here. The Saurus Warriors with shields diving into the Phoenix Guard, great call there, negating their anti-large by not being large units themselves. They're able to occupy the Phoenix Guard over here. Meanwhile, over here, the Saurus Warriors are pushing forward, and they're about to get ambushed by 2 units of White Lions of Trace, and that's a terrible spot to be in. These White Lions of Trace will take care of them very quickly. They are armor-piercing. They'll do a lot of hurt, and you can see they are falling apart instantaneously. Meanwhile, over here, the Feral Stegodon notices the Phoenix Guard over there, decides to turn around and pull away, as does Lord Mazdamundi. Not a safe place to be at all. The Phoenix Guard are very threatening, and you'll see we do have the Temple Guard over here pushing forward instead, while all the way back here, the Carnosaur has actually gone rampaging, and that's a terrible situation to be in, and this is a perfect example of how that can absolutely ruin your approach. The Illyrian Reaver Archers are the closest enemy unit to the rampaging Feral Carnosaur, so the Feral Carnosaur is going to try and close that gap, but the Illyrian Reaver Archers are much faster, so they're going to maintain that gap, and not only that, they're able to open shots off at the Feral Carnosaur as they do so. So that's a perfect example of how when a unit goes rampaging, it can completely throw your plans out the window. So a tough spot for the Lizardmen, to be sure. Meanwhile, the front lines, you'll see the Saurus Warriors with shields here, ambushed by those 2 White Lions of Trace, are completely falling apart, while over here in the center, we have a better situation for these Saurus Warriors with shields, not doing perfectly, but at least they're able to hold the Phoenix Guard in place, and the same goes on the left flank over here with these Saurus Warriors with shields occupying the Spearmen. Meanwhile, you'll notice Lord Mazdamundi decides to get involved a little bit more intimately with the Phoenix Guard over here, diving in, charging into the Phoenix Guard, doing a decent bit of hurt as he pushes in, but these nobles and Tyrion coming from the side, and at the same time, Mazdamundi does pop the Ruination of Cities. Now, this is a tremendous looking spell. It's a wind spell that goes off in 3 different directions, random directions, so you're not entirely sure where it's going to end up. However, let's take a look at the amount of damage it actually does in this relatively densely packed situation with the 2 units of White Lions of Trace and a 3rd one as well back there. So let's take a look at what happens there. Pops open, and you'll see it does a lot of hurt actually to that 1 unit of White Lions of Trace, bringing them down to about less than half health, dropping this one by about a quarter, and these guys took a little bit of hurt as well. So an absolutely wonderful cast of Ruination of Cities there, but again, randomized directions means it sometimes will hurt your own troops. Now over here you'll see the Phoenix Guard are about to get charged by this unit of Temple Guard. Again, not the worst call. And over here the White Lions of Trace, now free after having taken care of the Saurus Warriors with shields, are able to dive in on Lord Mazdamundi, get a full surround, and the Phoenix Guard as well are going to start causing some damage, and you'll see his morale is already significantly dropped, while all the way at the back you'll see that Feral Carnosaur continues to give chase to these Illyrian Reaver Archers. They haven't taken any damage, a bit of morale damage perhaps, but they're able to just skirt away and open shots off and hurt that Feral Carnosaur, so when he does get involved in more important engagements, that Feral Carnosaur will drop more easily. Meanwhile, you'll notice in the front line over here, this unit of Saurus Warriors with shields has given up. They are pulling away, while the Skink Skirmishers are now finally able to get involved, opening shots off at the Phoenix Guard over here, trying to hurt these guys and take care of them, just so that they're not there to take care of Lizardmen large units. Meanwhile, you'll notice here Mazdamundi is in a very tough spot. Revivification Crystal on him for a little while. They're trying to keep him alive, and there you have it. We do have the Net of a Mintok just so that Lord Mazdamundi can get out of there. He does use Apotheosis on himself as well to keep himself alive, but unfortunately decides to dive into the Phoenix Guard over here. Not the best call. That initial charge will surely cause some damage, but once the Phoenix Guard turn around and start poking and prodding at Mazdamundi, he will be in a tight spot. Meanwhile, you'll notice the Elven Archers there opening shots off at the Skink Skirmishers with that tremendous range of theirs, trying to scare off that range support and the leadership damage it can cause, as well as the poison damage that the Skink Skirmishers bring in with their missiles. Back here, meanwhile, you'll see the Silver Helms just trying to keep the Bastiladon with Solar Engine occupied, I think, while in the center up front, you'll notice we do have some units starting to rampage. The Feral Stegodon is going absolutely wild, the Saurus Warriors with shields as well, so now they're no longer in control, while the Feral Carnosaur at the back there has stopped rampaging, but unfortunately is still just sitting there looking pretty. Really needs to be brought back here, needs to dive into some of these engagements, maybe chase after the nobles or Tyrion. They're on horseback, and again, the Carnosaur is anti-large and armor-piercing, so it'll get a lot of work done. Meanwhile, you'll see Lord Mazdamundi is in a very dangerous situation. The Phoenix Guard are causing a lot of hurt. He's about half health, less than half morale, so a dangerous spot to be in for sure. The Elven Archers, meanwhile, continue to fire the Skink Skirmishers, trying to make sure that they're not able to stay engaged, while the Silver Helms here give chase as well, trying to finish these guys off once and for all. Meanwhile, in the center, these units continue to rampage, not in any control, and they're being taken care of. And if the Phoenix Guard here had just pushed in, they might have been able to take care of that Feral Stegodon. Meanwhile, on the right flank over here, you'll see we do have the Bastiladon with Revivification Crystal getting in close to try and help Mazdamundi out here, try and take care of some of these Phoenix Guard, but again, a very dangerous situation to be in. Mazdamundi is very low on health right now, needs to pull back into some safety. Meanwhile, you'll notice over here we do have these Saurus Warriors with shields diving into the White Lions of Trace as well as the Phoenix Guard, and in comes a shot from that Solar Engine, reducing their stats, of course, with blindness, but also causing a decent amount of hurt, while the archers now are opening shots at the Bastiladon, trying to take it off the field, but of course that's not going to happen too easily. Meanwhile, over here you'll see Mazdamundi is using Apotheosis once again to try and replenish some hit points, cause some fear as well, but more about staying alive, needs to pull out of there, needs to stay safe. The Feral Stegodon, meanwhile, is going absolutely crazy, not having a good time. The Nobles are causing a decent amount of hurt. We do have some spears in there as well, while Mazdamundi here does need to pull back, pops Cold-Blooded, and that is not the best of ideas when engaged with the Phoenix Guard. As you can see, Cold-Blooded reduces melee defense and melee attack. With melee defense at 5 and melee attack at 0, the Phoenix Guard are doing a lot more hurt than they otherwise would, so now Mazdamundi is taking more damage than if he simply didn't have Cold-Blooded active on him. Instead, he should have first been pulled back to get Cold-Blooded's assistance and get his hit points replenished. But you'll see he is trying to do that right now, despite being slowed down by Cold-Blooded, and that Bastiladon over there is holding the Phoenix Guard at bay, allowing Mazdamundi to escape, while the Bastiladon over here is taking care of the White Lions of Trace, not really afraid to be involved in melee, of course. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Guard here kept occupied by the rampaging Saurus warriors with shields. If these guys could just get back there and engage the Bastiladon or engage Mazdamundi, they'd be in a much better spot. And now the Carnosaur finally decides to get involved, skips past everything, goes right for Tyrion. Anti-large, armor-piercing damage going to do a lot of work there, hurting Tyrion significantly. Meanwhile, the Solar Engine now responding to these archers, opening shots of its own. And meanwhile, all the way back here, you'll notice the Skink Skirmishers are actually about to get charged by the Illyrian Reaver archers. Just like I was saying earlier, the Skink Skirmishers, despite poisoning the Illyrian Reaver archers, not able to slow them down enough. That gap does close, and as that charge hits, these Skink Skirmishers are going to fall apart with the superior melee capabilities of the Reaver archers. So, as I called earlier, those Reaver archers are very threatening to skirmisher units because you might think you're safe, but they can charge in and shut down that skirmisher without any issue. Meanwhile, in the center here, you'll see we have another ruination of cities going down from Mazdamundi. Again, random directions, and this time it's a little less dense, so you're not really certain which way it's going to go and if it's actually going to help. Earlier on, it definitely caused a lot of damage, and here I guess the hope was to engage and damage some of these nobles, some of these spearmen, and scare them off, and you'll see it does do just that. A very good tactical use of ruination of cities, and now the Bastiladon with Solar Engine over here decides to charge into the archers, engage in melee, shut them down once and for all. Not a bad call whatsoever, pushing in, while Tyrion, you'll notice over here, has been largely taken care of by that Carnosaur going absolutely wild, terrifying Tyrion right now after having done a lot of hurt. But back to this Bastiladon with Solar Engine charging into these archers who decide to disengage and pull away, but just a little too late there. That charge comes in and they get shut down once and for all. Meanwhile, in the forest over here, you'll notice we do have the Feral Stegodon rampaging a little bit, going wild, not really doing anything, trying to get engaged, while Mazdamundi over here has a grudge to settle, chases after Tyrion as he returns into the fray, wanting to kill that High Elf Lord and take him off the field. He is not part of the great plan as far as Mazdamundi is concerned. Meanwhile, you'll see the Illyrian Reaver archers are trying to return to the fray. We do have the archers able to turn around and open shots off again as the Bastiladon with Solar Engine turns around. A lot of these rampaging units focusing on the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, but unfortunately the High Elves just aren't going to stick around and fight. With Tyrion dead, the Lizardmen are victorious. A Pyrrhic victory it might be, but victorious nonetheless. It seems the High Elves were more prepared for an infantry-heavy build, bringing only 2 anti-large units in the form of the Phoenix Guard and a third in the form of the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, though that's an artillery piece that was quickly engaged in melee. The Lizardmen did well to engage the Phoenix Guard with Saurus warriors, allowing their large beasts to toss the armor-piercing White Lions of Trace around and ultimately hunt down Tyrion as well. We saw how rampaging can be absolutely devastating to the Lizardmen, and we also saw how it might not be the best idea to target artillery units with a Solar Engine. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the Total War YouTube channel to keep up with more information as we approach the release date.